bottom of page 146.
Shalom. It's time for a long and boring rabbinic speech. No, I promise I haven't. I just wanted to say a few words before doing the Torah reading. It's amazing to see so many of you today to come to this viral service. And I was looking around the room earlier, and I was thinking, yes, we have this story together, and we have this story together, and we talked about this, and we discussed about that. And I think, what makes the community a great place is all these stories intertwine, people coming together and sharing. And I have to say, being a rabbi is a huge privilege. It's hugely tiring as well, but it's a huge privilege. And I wanted to thank you for allowing me in your lives for these past 7 years. And of course, 7 is a very important number in Judaism. The 7 days of the week, and already the 7 days of the week, and also, of course, the Torah portion today, which talks about the 7 days of the Shemitah, 7 years of the Shemitah, the remission of debts. So every 7 years in ancient Israel, they would remit the debt. Of course, it's nonsensical in terms of business mindset. So the rabbis invented a system called the prosbul, which said that actually when towards the end of the 7 years, you sell the debt to the Sanhedrin or to the rabbinic court, and then they will keep the debt, and then you can continue paying your debt after.
These days they call it derivative trading.
Sorry?
These days they call it derivative trading.
Yeah,
Led to the financial crash.
So the bad news is that you still have to pay your membership dues because it's not practiced anymore. So I also wanted to thank you for the team that has organized this day. And I think, Sandra, you were mostly leading the team. I was completely out of it, so I have no idea. I didn't want to know anything about today. So I don't want to make any mistakes. So thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Luca. Thank you, Rebecca, Craig, and all the team who came together today. And I know that, knowing Robin, we're going to have good food later because, this is part of a night show. And I was wondering, why on earth I'm not coming like this every Shabbat morning? Gosh, this would be amazing. 150 people every Shabbat morning. I feel like, one of these old stars, the singers, who do the last concert every. I'm back. So maybe I should actually come back and leave and come back. Anyway, end of my jokes. Yeah. So thank you. Where's Brian? Brian, thank you for. I love when you go off script because this is my style. During COVID, when we had to organize services, very strictly organized, with a number of page and the name of prayers for people online, and because I don't prepare my services, not because I'm lazy, but because I feel the people in the synagogue. I want to feel the atmosphere. And then I open the prayer book, honestly, it's always the same, right? So you really have to be a bit creative, and I think it's very important. Someone mentioned, I think it was you, Ethan, creativity. What is your way? It's so important, because otherwise it's always the same. And I was called the off-track rabbi during COVID, because I never, after a couple of years I managed to be good. So we had great times together. We had difficult times together. Not personally, but in the outside world. We had the aftermath of Brexit. I'm sorry, I still haven't recovered from Brexit. We never recovered from Brexit. Then after that, we had COVID. COVID was a very difficult time for the synagogue, and of course, we really managed to get everything very well, and COVID was actually a success, in a way for community building. And of course, after the war in Ukraine, gosh, we changed again everything about our perception of certainty, and the tragic events in Israel and the aftermath of the war in Gaza, and the insecurity in Israel, and the insecurity in the Jewish community. I really loved, I'm going to stop with that, when I came to the UK, British Jews were kind of very confident. Yeah, it's fine. There's no anti-Semitism anymore. It's all right. It's okay. We are really safe here. And coming from France, where sometimes you have a reminder. And now, actually, yes, we can see that. But remember always, we are not in Germany in the 1930s, right? And the fact that we have a mayor of Ambridge, the mayor of Kingston, and the leader of the Kingston Council, and all, and Ed Davies, Sir Ed Davies, couldn't make it today. And the new Lib Dem MP from Ambridge has contacted me. We are not alone, right? So it's very important to remember that. Right. When I say I'm going to talk 2 minutes, it comes quickly. I'm going to stop now. So on page 481. אין כמוך באלוהים אדוני ואין כמעשיך מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור תסתן אדוני Phil is going to be the strong man of the day to take the scroll out. So you open here. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. גדלו לאדוני איתי ונרוממה שמו יחדיו. בנו בתורתך, לבנו במשפטך, לאהבנו, אהבה וליראה את שמך. Please be seated. So I came too late this morning, so I didn't have time to set up the scroll, and I blame my husband. Someone needs to be blamed. No, I never blamed myself. Sorry, I just need a few moments for find a place. Start with Miketz Parasha. So the Parasha Israel is in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 15, verses 1 to 11, and you have it in your booklet. Did you read it? When did you read the Torah last time? Last week? Last week. Oh gosh, certainly. Long time, huh? Because, yeah, okay, sorry. It's further, much further. Yes, so that's number 6. So what happens when I'm not here, right? Oh gosh, yes.
אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים, ונצר לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני, נושא התורה.
Can you hold Amen. מקץ 7 שנים תעשה שמיטה, וזה דבר השמיטה, שמות כל בעל מה שידעו. אשר ישב ברעהו, לא ייגש את חהו ואת אחיו, כי קרא שמיטה לאדוני. את אנוכי תיגוש, אשר יהיה לך, את אריך תשמט ידיך, אפס כי לא יהיה בך אביון, כי ברר יברך אדוני בארץ אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך נחלה לרשתה. רק אם שמוע תשמע בקול אדוני אלוהיך, לשמור לעשות את כל המצווה הזאת אשר אנוכי מצווה היום. כי אדוני אלוהיך בררך אשר דיבר לך, והעבדת גויים רבים, ואתה לא תעבד, ומשלת בגויים רבים, ובך לא ימשלו. כי אדון כי יהיה בך אביון מחד אחיך בהרת שעריך בארצך אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך. לא תאמיץ לבביך ולא תפקוד את ידיך מאחיך האביון, יפתוח תפתח את ידיך לו, ועבדת תבטהו דמרסו אשר יחסר לו, ישמר לך, אין יהיה דבר עם לבביך בליעל לאמור. קרבה שנת השמיטה, שנת המשתה, ורעהו באחיך, בעונך, באחיך האביון, ולא תיתן לו, וקרא לך אל אדוני, והיה בך חטא. נתון תיתן לו, ולא יכל לבביך ותיתך לו, כי בגלל הדבר הזה יברך ובכל משלח ידיך. היא לא יחדל אביון מקרב הארץ, על כן אנוכי מצווך לאמור, פטור תפתח את ידיך לאחיך לענייך ולאביך בארצך.
וחיי עולם נתן בתוכנו, ברוך אתה אדוני נושא התורה.
מי שברך אמותינו שרה רבקה רחל ולאה, הוא תברר את חנה בת ההורים שלה, שעלתה לכבוד המקום ולכבוד השבת, הקדוש ברוך הוא יברר אותה ואת כל משפחתה וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיה. עם כל ישראל אחיה ואחיותיה ונאמר אמן. May the one who blessed our ancestors Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel and Leah bless Hannah who has come up to the Torah in honor of God and of the Shabbos. And you were ever last to have your bat mitzvah here in July. May the Holy One ever to be praised, bless her and her family, and prosper her in all that she undertakes, together with all her sisters and brothers of the house of Israel. And let us say, Amen. Yasher Koach. Yasher Koach. Thank you as well for helping me. So we'll be doing the Agba. And from now on, I can just go back and relax. Please stand.
Everybody. So, as well as the Torah reading from the scroll, it's traditional to have a reading from somewhere a bit later in the Old Testament. The Torah is just the first 5 books, quite often from one of the prophets. And the same reading is located in every synagogue throughout the world. Some read a longer or a shorter, but it's the same section. And I'm going to read a shorter piece. And it's from Isaiah chapter 55. before, and you've got it in your leaflets. Now, I just picked out what I thought was a very, very apposite section of this week's Haftarah reading for this occasion, because the theme of Isaiah's speech on this occasion was consolation and hope. And I think those are two emotions that we need very much in our community at the moment. With losing our precious rabbi, we need a bit of consolation and a bit of hope. Of course, Isaiah didn't have René in mind when he wrote this. He was talking about the condition and the situation of the Jewish people at the time, and it's also opposite now that I think we feel that the Jewish people need some consolation and some hope. But Isaiah is very poetic, and I particularly liked that the metaphor that he used was a shiny new building, because some of you will know that this room is going to undergo a refurbishment in a few months' time, and the whole planning process has been overseen by René. And a bit like Moses, he led the people to the promised land to see the result. But he can come back and have a peek. Okay. So we're now on page 483, and I have to do the blessing before the Haftarah reading. Afflicted city, lashed by storms and not comforted, I will rebuild you with stones of turquoise, your foundations with lapis lazuli. I will make your battlements of rubies, your gates of sparkling jewels, and all your walls of precious stones. All your children will be taught by the Eternal One, and great will be their peace. In righteousness you will be established. Tyranny will be far from you. You will have nothing to fear. Terror will be far removed. It will not come near you. On page 484.
I swore I'd behave myself this morning, but the blessing I'm about to give reminds me of a lovely story about our lovely rabbi. When he took British citizenship, he swore allegiance to the king and his hares. Well, it was the Queen, sorry, it's right moved on. Anyway, those of you who are able, Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our sovereign King Charles and all the royal family, for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom and justice, tolerance and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity. Eternal God, as you blessed our ancestors in generations past, bless now this congregation, its leaders and its members, and all who enter this synagogue to meet, to study, and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us, and heal those in anxiety or pain. May we all find here community and friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, a deeper understanding of our heritage, and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the House of Israel throughout the world. Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed, and may we all unite to witness to your truth and to do your will.
Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. Send complete rescue and full redemption to those held captive since October the 7th, 2023. Strengthen their spirits and bring them our prayers, that they be protected from all harm and may return in wholeness of body and spirit. Grant wisdom to all and to its leaders and defenders, that they may secure freedom for the captives without further loss of innocent lives, and an end to this tragic war, to allow all to live in safety, friendship, peace and freedom. May we all live in harmony with our neighbours, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go forth Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem. Amen. Amen.
Yes. Judaism employs a lunar, moon-based calendar for religious purposes. So every new moon is a new month, and we're about to have a new month. And your prayer book on pages 4, 8, 5 and 6 has the blessing that's used to recognise a new month. But I've been asked to instead use a celebration of the cycle of time that we experience through regular weekly days, regular months, regular festivals throughout the year, seasons of the year. It's got a refrain. And you're going to hear it a few times, so I hope you'll join in. The refrain goes, as you can read on your supplementary sheet, we go round and round and round, we go round and round the cycle of time. Pessimists would say that's stasis. Optimists would say every year we get a chance to be a better person than we were this time last year. This is the summer, igniting the fall.
So we're going to conclude now the Torah service.
I think children are meant to come and read page 488. Hello, children.
Kinderlech, come here. Yes, yes. Okay. So you are the art openers, brilliant.
Leo, come and do it on your own if nobody else is coming.
I'm doing the end of the service. I'm doing the end of the service. Please stand. We're on page 488. Yeah, come here so the people can hear you. So how do you read it? So we read first, and then we repeat the next one.
God's teaching is perfect.
Reviving the soul.
God's word is unfalling.
Making wise the simple.
God's precepts are right.
Enlightening mind.
God's commandments are clear.
Enlightening the eyes.
God's doctrine is pure.
Enduring forever.
God's guidance is true.
And altogether just.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
As co-chairs of the synagogue, Rebecca and myself extend a very warm welcome to Madam Mayor, to Deputy Mayor, to our distinguished guests, and members and friends of the synagogue. I don't think I've seen so many in this building since, when we stood at Mount Sinai. Sorry, more sarcasm to come. Today is a celebration, but with some sadness. It's the last time we get to hear the beautiful sound of Rabbi René learning the Torah. Some of us have the benefit of René's efforts to teach us how to do it. Alas, none of us could match the soothing, dulcet tones of René. Usually at this point of the service, René would impart his rabbinic wisdom and explain what we can learn from the passage in the Torah which René has just laid. Today, instead of rabbinic wisdom, you've got co-chair's sarcasm. But we have also attempted to work out for ourselves its meaning and its relevance for us today, some 25 centuries after the Torah was written. To explain briefly, for the benefit of our guests, we read the Torah, that's the 5 books of Moses, in weekly instalments. And at the end of the year, we start all over again. The custom in liberal Judaism is not to read the full weekly instalment, but an extract from it. This week's segment starts with the stark choice God gave our ancestors, the Israelites, blessing and curse, with blessing coming only through the observance of God's laws. It then goes on to set out some of these laws. And the section that René laid concerns a law about the remission of debt in the 7th year. And it's essentially about the duty to give to the needy. 2 things struck me both from the final verse that René laid. It states, there will never cease to be needy ones in your land. And that's despite a few verses earlier saying that there won't be any. Perhaps it's there because we need a reminder of our obligations to support the poor. That requires actions from us. God's not going to take care of it. It talks about the poor also as being our kin, our siblings. So we shouldn't see ourselves as inherently different from the poor, unfortunately all too common within our society, such as the cruel rhetoric we hear blaming, for instance, welfare claimants for their own poverty. At KLS, we can be proud of our personal contributions to those in need, and also as a community. For example, as a partner in the Warmer Winter initiative that we do on Mitzvah Day each year. And Dr. Rebecca.
So, René's already stolen some of my thunder, but hey, what's new? He's already got some of my themes. But one of the things that he mentioned was that at the beginning of the portion, we're told that after 7 years, we have to remit all debts. And it's one of the many places in the Torah in which the number 7 is significant. The number 7 is very significant in Judaism. And Craig and I, we love that because we're mathematicians. So anything about numbers is exciting. Well, I should say Craig is a mathematician. I am the daughter of mathematicians, so I kind of understand how their minds work. But yeah, the 7 days of creation. Some of our major festivals are also 7 days. Pesach, Shavuot. In fact, Shavuot actually means weeks, which comes from the Hebrew word for the number 7, Shavah. But if René had read just one more verse today, the next verse in the portion, and I will translate this into English, says, if a Hebrew man or woman is sold to you, they shall work for you for 6 years, and in the 7th year, you must let them go free. Now, it's already been mentioned that coincidentally, René has been with us for 7 years. I should stress he's not a slave. He was remunerated. He might well have something to say about that over Kiddush. But unfortunately, we are now commanded to let him go free. But before we do, we obviously want to reflect on those 7 years that he's been with us. Now, I wasn't actually around when he first joined us, so Craig, can you tell us a little bit about how he was originally sold to us?
Yeah, let's go right back to the beginning. For many of us, our first experience of Rabbi René was during the recruitment process. We invited René to lead a couple of services, and we asked the congregation to complete feedback forms. Now, it's often said that with 2 Jews, you get 3 opinions. But, amazingly, confounding our expectations, the feedback on René was unanimously positive, unheard of in any Jewish community.
So, René has been with us for 7 years. Not much has happened in that time. It's been quiet, fairly uneventful. Not really. René joined us during the sort of Brexit period. Although you would never know it because he never talked about it. Right? I mean, even to this day, we don't know what René thought about Brexit. No idea. You don't need to tell us now, it's fine. You can keep a secret. But after Brexit came COVID. And I think it's fair to say that it was during COVID that René's kindness, his warmth, his emotional and his spiritual leadership really held this community together and made it a lot stronger. COVID-wise, René was a bit of a trendsetter. He did get COVID. I think he was one of the first of us to get it very, very early on. And he enjoyed it so much that he got it a few more times over the years, usually coinciding with a major Jewish festival. Just to keep us on our toes. Now, as you've seen today, and as we all know, René has an amazing presence up here on the bima. He is warm, he is natural, he's authentic. What you see is what you get. You don't always know what you're going to get. And as his pianist over many years, I can testify to that. But what we saw during COVID was that presence and that warmth translated effortlessly online. And he became a little bit of a celebrity in his own lifetime. When we were all, in the very early days of COVID, when we were all stuck at home on our own, it was René's presence online, his warmth, his kindness, everything I've spoken about, that made us all feel that we were actually together as a community, even though we were physically separate because we had to be. And I'd just like to say, personally, it was during that time that Craig and René and myself started working very closely together. Craig and I obviously were helping getting everything online and setting up the live streams. The first live stream was literally on my iPad, kind of propped up on a chair over there somewhere, just completely sort of out of the blue. And we developed that somewhat since then. But we formed our team. We called ourselves the Three Musketeers. And in fact, actually, Craig, when he set up our WhatsApp group, he's actually written it 3 Musts, KLS Tears. I'll miss that WhatsApp group, and I'm very sorry to say, René, but we have already set up another WhatsApp group with Rabbi Lev. Well, good question, I'm so glad you asked. Knight, Lev, Simmons. It's a good acronym. It makes us sound like estate agents. So we're going to try and come up with something better than that. But as well as being René's accompanist, I was also for some time his publicist when I ran the social media for the shul. And I have to say, being René's publicist was very easy. Because first of all, he's very photogenic. So he takes some great photos, lovely pictures. He can be very wise, so he gives some great quotes, and he can be a little bit chaotic, so some excellent bloopers as well. So quite frankly, the social media content kind of wrote itself. And as René's already said, after we started coming out of COVID, the Ukraine war started. And I remember the Shabbat evening service the day after Russia invaded Ukraine. René just created and held a very, very special space for us all to be with each other, to reflect on what had happened, to sit with our anxieties and our fears about what was coming next, and just gave us the support that we needed to come together as a community during those difficult months. And many of you will remember, and many of you were involved in the donation hub that we set up here, where we collected hundreds, if not thousands, of items from the local community, packed them up into hundreds of boxes, shipped them off directly into Ukraine through some contacts that we had made. And throughout that, René provided the support and the spiritual guidance and just the warmth and the kindness to all of those working so hard on that particular initiative. And then, obviously, again, as René mentioned briefly, most recently we've experienced the trauma of October the 7th of last year. And for us in the Jewish community, that is a trauma that we're all still going through now, even though, unbelievably, we're about to mark the first anniversary of those events. But again, looking back on the immediate aftermath, within about 72 hours of those events, René set up an online vigil for us all to join and come together. When it was very raw, we were still in shock, but we had that vigil. He gave us a space to pray and a space to reflect and a space to sing the Hatikva, and that was very, very important in those very early days. So, overall, over the last 7 years, very much down to Rabbi René's incredible leadership, guidance and kindness, I believe this community has got a lot stronger and it's also grown a lot bigger. A lot of people have joined during René's rabbinate, not least in part due to his own warmth and his personality and his charisma. And many people have said to us, René, as we've been preparing for today, that when they first met you, any anxieties or any worries they had about joining a new community just went away and they felt at home. And I can certainly say that for myself, because I am one of those people who joined shortly after Rabbi René. And in fact, let's just have a show of hands. Can you put your hand up if you had joined this community during Rabbi René's rabbinate? There's quite a few. Quite a few. Has anyone left during his rabbinate? There you go, I think that says it all. And before I hand it back to Craig, I'm just also going to go off-piste, because if Brian can do it, I sure as hell can. René, this is personal from me to you, but you know how much my life has changed over the last 7 years since I joined KLS. You've been very much part of that. You've been my rabbi, you've been my mentor, you've been my sounding board, you've been my partner in crime, you've been my punching bag, and above all, you've been my friend. And I hope that will continue, and I miss you, and I love you. Craig.
So just returning to the theme of this week's Torah portion.
I went off track. I told you, he's my mentor. He's my mentor. I'm doing a René.
About giving to the needy. If we take the liberty of extending that and work out what it needs, what our needs are in the community, and what the messages that you have all given and sent him show overwhelmingly how much you have given to the community. And I can give a flavour of the things you said in your messages. Lovely warm voice, caring support, particularly for members who've had gone through a hard time. Kindness, guidance and encouragement. Your smile, your honesty, energy, sense of humour. Several mentions of your potty mouth. Your brilliance, maybe we're getting a bit carried away here. You kept this short free of controversy and broiguses. They mind your wardrobe of colourful shirts, which also contains silly hats and blow ties for Purim. Your love for Beitenu, and now seeing our bar and bat mitzvah students mature and grow as they lead a service. And most recently, your thoughtfulness, but your most recently in initiating contact with Rabbi Lev as someone you thought would leave KLS in good hands, and we hope you're right. René won't be missed just by the KLS community, also across the Faith and Belief Forum and the wider community in and around Elmbridge and Kingston and beyond. A couple of messages from people who said They would love to have been here but had prior engagements. Joe Moffat, Vicar of All Saints Church in Kingston, who succeeds you as chair of the forum, said you've made a wonderful contribution to the town and Faith Fellowship. And Ed Daly, MP Kingston, described you as a real inspiration. So I can see the time is marching on, so I am going to get what I have to say here. But certainly I was going to say, looking at the theme of the Torah, we had a choice of blessing and curse. Surely God is going to look favourably on you, and you've earned yourself a blessing, and certainly the community has been blessed to have you as our rabbi. On the other hand, I did note another law in this week's portion: you shall not eat anything abhorrent, including swine. A reminder that our rabbi's dietary preferences very much adhere to the modern, liberal interpretation of Torah. So now comes the time to say goodbye. A.A. Milne wrote, "How lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard." And I confess I stole that from our president, Sandra Webber, who's made that message in the messages that the community have given, and I will give that to you now. I think.
Shall we invite him up?
So first of all, community have got together.
No, get him to come up. Come on.
And as to help your memory, in case you forget us, this is a book of memories of your time with us and messages from the community. And this is another say goodbye with some more messages. And there's something for you that you can collect online as well, as a thank you. It seems appropriate to quote one verse from something we'll read in a few weeks' time. It says, "Blessed shall you be in your comings, and blessed shall you be in your goings." So, and thank you for all that you've done for this community. We wish you all the very best as you go on your way. And it is with that sentiment that we sing the next song, which you will find on the back page of your supplementary service sheet. It's in English, so we can all join along. And Sandra has adapted it to suit the occasion.
May page 520 for the Aleinu, please. Those who can stand, please do. Trusting in you, eternal God, we hope soon to behold the glory of your might, when false gods will vanish from our hearts and idolatry cease forever. Help us to perfect the world by bringing it under your unchallenged rule, and all who invoke your name relinquish evil and turn to you alone. May all who dwell on earth come to know that to you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you, let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name, let them give honor. Let all submit to your sovereign rule. May that time come soon and last forever. For ultimate sovereignty is yours, and to all eternity you may reign in glory, as it is written, the Eternal One shall reign forever. In Nema, the Haya Adonai, the As we worship before you, O God, we think of those who once shared with us the joys and burdens of life and who are no longer in our midst. The sorrow of bereavement is softened by the bond of love which continues to unite us with our dear ones and by our hearts. May all that was good in their lives remain with us as an influence for good. O God, grant consolation to those who are in sorrow and light to those in darkness. Teach us at all times to put our trust in you and to praise your name. And the yard sites that I have for this week are Faye Reed, grandmother of Barbara Richards, Harry Reed, grandfather of Barbara Richards, Ken Simmons, husband of Vicki Simmons, Rebecca Harris, grandmother of Jane Watts, Philip Schwartz, father of Francis Leifer. Is there anyone else who would like to add names? So, if you please turn to the Kaddish on page 524. Yitkadal v'yikadash she'erah, v'amad yivrach v'yitei v'yamid ma'oteh, v'chayachon v'yomachon, v'chayet v'chobeit Yisrael, v'agav v'zman kariv v'yamim amen, v'yei she'erah v'vrach v'ram v'yamai, v'yivrach v'yishalach v'yikar v'yitman v'yikaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalach shnei v'yishak v'yikur, v'enam v'kol v'yachatav sh'yatav, v'tishbechatav v'nechatav, v'amram v'amram v'imru amen. V'hei shema rabban yishmayim, v'chaim aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
a couple of announcements. Our annual games, it's normally a rounders match this time of year. The tradition of the synagogue has been going on for many, many decades. Slightly different this time because earlier this year our garden party had to be cancelled because of the weather. So Linda and Ray, who were due to host it, are inviting us to a games in their garden, and it's not big enough for rounders, I don't think. So there'll be some garden games followed by a tea. So you're welcome to that. Details in the bulletin. That's on Sunday,
8th. Yeah.
The 8th.
And while I've got such a captive audience, I mentioned earlier that we are coming up to the anniversary of the events of October the 7th, and we wanted to mark that as a community on the day itself. So there will be an evening here starting at 7 p.m. Where we will be praying and reflecting on those events. We will also have some testimonies from some friends and family members of KLS who were caught up directly in the events on the day. They will be joining us online to give their testimony. After the event, we'll also be having a Chavurah supper, and the Chavurah supper will have a special theme, and that will be the recipes of the hostage families, the favourite recipes of the hostages that the families have collated together into a special recipe book. So that recipe book is currently on the table in the mosaic room. If you're planning to come, please select a recipe from that, mark it up, and then we will be able to kind of honour them in a nice way together. So please mark that in your diaries from 7 o'clock on Monday, the 7th of October.
May I just mention Kingston Carnival, which is happening tomorrow.
Ah.
Usually it clashes with the games day, but this time it's not. So
Okay, Kingston Carnival tomorrow.
it's starting around 12 o'clock.
It's a small festival this year.
It's a smaller one than usual.
Not yet.
But still, it's, we hope that the atmosphere will be just as good.
Okay, thank you for that. Right, now, so we're going to finalise, so the last outing of the KLS 3 Musketeers. René, could you please join us on the beamer for a Don alum?
So this will be our final song. After this, you're invited to.
Actually, I tell you what we're going to do
first. In the hall at the back.
Wait. I tell you what we're going to do first. We'll forget to do it. Turn around. Right, can everybody smile away? Just kind of let that in. Smile away, everyone, please. This is like the Oscars. This is why I wanted a selfie stick for anyone who wants that. Okay, good. Right.
לבדו אם לא נורא והוא היה והוא עובר, קרא והוא
Vadorim Bonora Veruaya Veruaya Koe Mekifa Afkid Ruhi Et Isha Ha'ira Im Ruhi Keviati Adonai Li Adonai or whatever. Okay, can I ask all the children to come up to the bima for the final blessing, please? All the children, they pray you for the one last time. And yes, can you? One last time. Oh gosh, you're getting taller and taller and taller. Oh gosh, yes, brilliant. Yes, yes, yes. Yesimech Elohim, Yesimech Elohim, Yesimech Elohim, Kesara Rivka Rachel veLeah, Yevarech Adonai v'yishmerecha, Yaher Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha, v'yasem lecha shalom. Shabbat shalom. Now it's time to eat, guys.
Just before, can I have everyone who was involved in the service and all of our guests, if you could please come up to the bima just for a couple of photos, and then we'll let you eat, I promise.
What's the Olympics? So he said I'm putting on. For fuck's sake. Yes. I don't want to hide anyone. Yes, I come here. Yeah, but I'm quite tall. Why don't I take a chair?
Like herding cats.
I might as well put my head in somewhere.
Oh yes, absolutely, please do.
Thanks so much.
Right.
Right.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you so much.